Live from the offices of Great River Investments in the beautiful city of Burlington, Iowa, this is the Marvin Knows Finances Show. I am your host, Marvin Thompson, your certified financial planner with Great River Investments, and joining me today and every day is my marketing guy, Kyle Rappenecker of Rappenecker Designs, the man who actually makes this podcast work and makes me sound so good. Thank you for taking a few minutes out of your day to listen in, and as always, for you listeners on iTunes and Spotify, don't forget to click the subscribe button. If you prefer to see us in person, please check out the YouTube channel Marvin Knows Finances and click subscribe there as well. Just like the last and every time, I have to take care of a little business before we get moving too far forward to make sure my compliance department stays happy and allows me to continue to bring you this wonderful show. Marvin Thompson is an investment advisor and a registered investment advisor with Brokers Financial member SIPC. Opinions expressed in this program do not necessarily reflect those of Brokers Financial. The topics discussed and opinions given are not intended to address the specific needs of any listener. Great River Investments, LLC does not offer legal or tax advice. Listeners are encouraged to discuss their financial needs with the appropriate professional regarding your individual circumstances. So, today's show, we're going to flip the tables a little bit. And instead of Kyle asking me questions, I'm going to ask him questions. So, today's topic is it's marketing. So just to give you a little background, I came across Kyle's business by doing a LinkedIn search and called him up. We had breakfast together, and we just kind of talked about my plans for the business and how it was all going to work. And extremely comfortable with Kyle and his marketing abilities and all the things that he can bring to the table. So I thought today would be a good idea if I had him explain exactly what his business does so you get a little understanding for who he is and what he does. And, just to right off the bat, we're going to put in a little plug, Kyle. If somebody wants to reach you, there's a couple different ways that I know of.
Yeah.
The first one is your cell phone number, which is 319-759-7909.
Yep.
And I would encourage everybody to go out and check his website out, www.rappeneckerdesign.com. Rappenecker is spelled Rappenecker. Kyle does a great job of posting a lot of his past jobs on there. And it gives you a really good idea about him and his family and so forth. But I figured I'd let him explain that first of all. So, Kyle, tell me a little bit about your background. How did you get into marketing, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, I got my bachelor's in 2008 at Western Illinois University. Before that, I can remember even being a kid, just, looking at, cereal boxes and stuff and like that, and just being kind of amazed at the designs of them and stuff, and just kind of wondering, who makes those, and, just wondering, even at a young age, just kind of wondering, how do you get a job like that and stuff. So even when I got older, I kind of was wondering, what kind of career field do I want to move into, and I immediately was drawn to graphic design because I was in love with art, but I didn't really think that I could really make a living with art, and I wasn't the best at watercolors or a field like that. So I thought graphic design would be a good one because I also was really in love with computers as well and all that stuff. So I thought it was a really good marriage of those two things. So after I got my bachelor's degree, I had a few different jobs. I worked as a graphic designer in Waterloo, Iowa, where I designed actual jerseys and stuff like that for the NCAA, for basketball, for all different types of schools across the the nation. It was a pretty good job and all that. Unfortunately, it didn't pay very well, but it was it was a really good opportunity. So I came back home and worked as a pre-press technician, creating all types of, different packaging from, soap cartons to, Tylenol cartons to stuff like that. And that's kind of where I, got my foot, dunked in the water and with, graphic design, and started doing some, newsletters, stuff like that and everything. So, and then after that, I kind of thought I would move on to just a full-on graphic design job. So I went and moved on to a marketing manager job at a place that kind of specializes in building, agricultural, confinements and stuff like that. So my position there was to pretty much be their, go-to guy for all their marketing and stuff like that. So that's where I really got the sense of, creating my own, being on my own, creating my own marketing plan for them, and just getting my own start where it was pretty much just me. I didn't have anyone to go to, so I just had to kind of go head first into it, and that gave me the real big push to know that I could kind of do this on my own and stuff. So so after that, I just thought I thought that I could do this on my own. So in 2012 I went out on my own, and since then I've just been helping businesses like yours. And the big thing with me is just creating partnerships like this, where I'm just continuing to help the business grow and all that. And I've done everything from any type of print job to any type of web job to you name it. So it's been a crazy ride. So yeah,
It sounds like a crazy ride. I didn't even know about that college jersey. That's really cool.
It was a fun job. It's just like I said, if it paid a little better, I would have stayed. But it was
I'm glad you didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally glad you didn't. All right, so we started Great River Investments in 2021, and so basically, even though I've been in the business for a long time, this is a startup business for all practical purposes. So when somebody like me comes to you, what are the first steps? What is the path, I guess, that you start to lead them down in terms of what they need to consider, what they need to do, and so forth?
Yeah. Well, whenever there's a new business that I'm talking to, the first thing I always try to, bring to the table to them is, I talk to them about, what is your brand? And, to me, I don't expect a lot of people to know what that word means. And
Actually, that's going to be my next question. Can you just tell me what the brand is?
Yeah.
What a brand is?
A brand, there's a lot of different definitions for what a brand is for a company. But to me, what a brand means for a company is your identity, what your company represents. So your brand can be, your logo, your mission statement, the colors that you choose. And if you don't have those be consistent throughout everything that you do, you're going to have a really hard time, hitting people hard and getting their attention when you do, certain types of advertising, because it's all about being consistent. So if at the very beginning you're starting to use, let's say you say, I really, in my logo, I really want to use, some dark greens and yellows. That's really what we focus on. Well, you need to think about moving forward. You're going to have those colors in your letterhead. You're going to have that on your business card. And then on your print material, you're going to probably have that throughout that. And if you change that up a lot, it's, little things like that are just really going to make people go, it's going to have a hard time making people connect you to, within their minds. And it's kind of, again, it's kind of hard for me to explain it, but I just try to make people think, at the very beginning, getting down a clear vision of what your business, really stands for. And once you kind of have that, we always just sit down and sort of put together this marketing plan, which, a marketing plan in itself can be, what a definition of a brand is. So I know I'm kind of jumping all over the place here, but a marketing plan is really, your logo, your mission statement, what your first steps are that you want to do for marketing for your business and so forth. And so that's, if you don't have those first steps and you just sort of want to dive in head first, then you're really going to have a hard time, looking professional and catching people's attention pretty much. So
do you find that business owners have a hard time explaining their own businesses?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Why is that?
I think it's just because they're, a lot of times, just in my experience, they're either, too preoccupied on, something else, on wanting to move on to something else, or they just aren't very familiar with the marketing / advertising side of a business. So I almost kind of have to sit them down and sort of walk them through and say, all right, this is really important to your business, and you kind of need to talk to me about this and that and this and that. So, but it is, I do find it where a lot of people find it very hard to kind of get that out and explain it. So a lot of times, business owners will say, hey, I'm going to send you, a list of some competitors that, I kind of like what they're doing in terms of their marketing, or I kind of like their logo, or I kind of like this. And obviously I've never plagiarized or copied anything, but it is nice to they kind of like to reinvent the not reinvent the wheel, but just kind of get that that nice little jump start, so I can kind of see what they're thinking, because usually if they're not wanting something crazy, something just out of this world, usually they're going to want something that's within that same industry standard. So
Okay,
yeah.
that sounds good.
Yeah.
You mentioned a marketing plan. Marketing plans for me have always been very challenging to create because when I think of a marketing plan, I mean, we got to come up with specific ideas to discuss. We want to have time frames on them. We want to do all that stuff. How do you help a client create a marketing plan? And then more importantly, how do you help them stick to that marketing plan?
Well, that's usually how I kind of help them stick to it is, I will sort of outline, what needs to be done in regards to what information I need to, get from them for the marketing plan. So that way they kind of have a little bit of some homework tasks that they kind of have to know that what they need to get to me, so they know what's important. And then I can kind of give them deadlines in regards to, all right, if we don't have this by this time and you guys are moving forward onto, this type of project, then you're really kind of overstepping what you're supposed to be doing, and you really should be focusing on this aspect. So just staying on task, staying on schedule and stuff, that's what's really most important with what I help the business do with their marketing plan. So,
Okay.
yeah.
When you're creating the marketing plan, obviously you can market 100 different ways right now. All right. You and I have talked numerous times about all my crazy ideas on how I want to get the word out about the business and everything else. How do you manage all that? Because I don't know how many clients you currently have, but I know it's a number of them, and not everybody's doing the podcasting and the videos and things like we're doing with this. But I came to you with the idea of doing social media. We had to create business cards. We had to create letterhead. We had to. I had the logo already designed before I came to you, but then you've taken it and enhanced it and made it even better and stuff like that. So, is there a specific type of marketing that you recommend everybody does right off the bat? I mean, obviously there's some basic things.
Oh yeah.
But we're in a kind of a new age right now. People's attention spans are about 30 seconds long. How do you grab that person's attention, and what do you tell a business owner that they really need to focus on?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I do have quite a list of clients that are at different stages of their marketing schedule. Some of them are a year in, some of them are a couple years, some of them have just started. But in regards to what they need to do to get started, that's really easy for me to kind of talk to them about. So usually, besides kind of what I've already talked about in regards to starting out with your brand and your logo and stuff, once you kind of have that down, then usually the kind of like the first main step is to really focus on getting like your Google business listing, get that done. Because if you don't have that done, then you're missing out on people searching for you online. Because really if you're in an industry where you're providing a service or something like that, then people are still going to Google first, to search. And a lot of people think that social media is the end all be all, but people are still going to Google first. So I always say, all right, now that we're done, let's go to set up your Google business listing. And then once we get that done, let's move on to set up your company website. Because again, a company website is something that's far more enhancing and intriguing than a social media page, and you can show off a lot more about yourself. So, and also within that, you can put in a lot of tools that can help your website be seen on Google. So by kind of combining the Google business listing and a company website, you're just helping your chances of being seen and shown on Google that much more. So doing those things, those first couple things, those really help. And then after that, you really just want to move on to social media, because that's just becoming a huge part of a business. And I don't know how many. It just, when I started this, social media wasn't a huge part of businesses, but now it's like if you don't have, a presence on social media, you're just missing out on a huge amount of your audience. So, if you don't have that Facebook page, that LinkedIn page, that Instagram page, then you're just missing out on tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people. Even if you're a small business in a small hometown like we are, you're missing out on that amount of people. So, and like Marvin just said, people's attention spans are so short that once you have all these things set up, probably the hardest thing to do, but the main thing that I help businesses out with the most is providing and creating that content. So you're just feeding that machine. So you're feeding the website and the social media pages. So you're constantly updating them, because if people go to your website 1 week and then they go to it a few weeks later and they see that nothing's changed, they're going to get the impression that your company is not doing much. And if they go to your Facebook page 1 week and they see that there hasn't been any updates for a few weeks, they're going to think the same thing. So if you're posting, consistent updates, and, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, but, if you're able to post, little blurbs about, what you're doing, or even just some nicely designed little, ads or something like that. Those can go such a long way and make a huge impact. So
Okay.
yeah.
I'm going to backtrack on you for 1 second here. Okay. So a Google listing. So Google listing is essentially where when somebody types in, as an example, Rappenecker Designs,
Yep.
they will obviously see your website pop up and
Yep.
so forth.
Yep.
But what if they were like me at the time and was just looking for a general marketing idea?
Yep.
Does Google listings, I guess my question is this: if you don't have the exact name of the business you're looking for, and you wanted somebody to do graphic designs, does Google listings then help move you up that list so people see you more often, or how does that work?
Absolutely. See, what you can do within your Google business listing is you can add, details about your business. It's almost like a little profile on Google. So, businesses will just get it set up because they think that they have to, but really it's almost like having a little Google profile. So, you can put in, a very, I think, like 5,000 keywords of, about us, a section. You can put in pictures, you can put in a lot of that stuff. And then not only that, but, I'm going to kind of add a little bit to this, but then if you're going to add on, a website to that where you have, keywords built in with your website. So let's say Marvin goes to Google and he types in, Southeast Iowa graphic designer, and your website has keywords that say, Southeast Iowa graphic designer, then your chances of being seen by Marvin in a higher spot are that much greater. So, and that's the same with any business. So, it's not just obviously with graphic designers, it's with any business. So,
And that's the key with Google, right?
Yes.
It's basically like you want to move up the list.
Yep, absolutely.
You want to move up the list. And then I noticed on Google too, there's people who pay for ads so their names appear and so forth. Do you recommend that as a good idea? It's got to be fairly expensive, doesn't it?
Yes, there was a time when Google ads were really essential, and that's when they were sort of in a different location. I think people remember they were kind of off to the right, and they were a lot bigger. You could sort of put pictures in them, but now Google has sort of compacted them to the top. And from all the research that I continue to do, I just keep seeing that they're really not as helpful as putting that money into, maybe boosting a post on Facebook or putting it into advertising on Instagram or something like that. So that money could definitely be well spent somewhere else. Okay. So yeah.
All right. Let's talk about the websites that you design too, because I'm obviously very happy with my website, but my website in the grand scheme of things probably wasn't very complicated for you to build. In your job in Rappenecker Designs, do you have any limitations for people in terms of website design? So here's an example. Let's say I sold widgets and I wanted to sell widgets on my website.
Yep.
Are you able to set up everything from the basic website to an e-commerce site and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the great thing with the software I use, is that it's I don't use any sort of website builder or anything like that. So I think certain graphic designers, they can kind of get themselves, pushed into a corner, because if they're just using like website builders and stuff like that, then they're going to have some limitations to what they can do. But if you're someone like me who is using something like WordPress, which is really an open sourced, it's called an open source software, which means you can pretty much go into Photoshop, which is a design software, and you can design, a really nice looking homepage, and you can show that to a client, and then you can take that design and then you can bring it into a website, and you can pretty much, code that to how it would look. So yes, to answer your question, I mean, there's really nothing that, can't be done with WordPress. So that's why when I go into a meeting with someone and, I know that they're going to need a store or need, maybe some, infographics, which are kind of like modern day PowerPoints that are, sort of kind of like all over the place and stuff like that. I mean, there's just really no limitation. So, yeah.
It's beautiful. All right. So your clients, your businesses, they've got all their marketing material created at this point. Okay. Mm-hmm. What is the next step that they need to do?
The next step would be to just continue to update, to continue to, to me, do not stay stagnant. That's what I always, tell them, and to just, stay hungry pretty much. So, once that stuff is up there, once the Google business listing's up, once the website's up, once the social media and all that's up, it's just a matter of, keeping that stuff updated. So, if nothing is staying stagnant, then you're doing a great job. So, the more that you do, the better of a chance that you are of getting more clients, getting more people and stuff. So the more you do, the better. And, I always tell people that, social media is, a place for businesses to kind of brag about themselves and, say, hey, check out this job that we just finished, or hey, let's welcome our new employee, or something like that, or stuff like that. That's where you should post those type of things. So, that's a place where you should do that. And the other thing is some businesses kind of get stuck in kind of putting their eggs in one basket, where they kind of think, all right, well, I have my website. I'm not really going to touch that right now, but I'm going to hit Facebook hard. I'm going to hit it hard every week, Well, what about LinkedIn? What about all the people on LinkedIn that use that really hard? What about all the people that use Instagram really hard? And, we haven't even talked about, the possibilities of YouTube. YouTube has become, such almost as impactful as, Facebook, in regards to what you can do with, when you post a video, how you target market that. So it's just like, there's just so many tools out there that you can utilize. So just don't focus on one area of social media, to just kind of spread your wings and, try everything out and just continue to keep it updated. And I know it's a lot of work, and, that's kind of why you need someone to take that position to keep it updated, because I know that business owners and stuff like that just don't have the time to do it. So, yeah.
I would say in our relationship, our working relationship, that's probably the hardest thing, is that we probably worked together a couple of months before I finally just said, look, Kyle, I'm going to schedule a block of time every Friday morning to work on nothing but marketing. So 3 hours of just nothing but marketing. And I think you can attest to it. We are pretty much in communication with each other every day in some capacity.
Oh, yeah.
And, as a business owner, you're doing everything. If you're running a financial firm like I am, you're doing a lot of different hats. You're watching the market, you're doing paperwork, you're reviewing clients, things like that. If you run a restaurant, which I know you work with a couple of restaurants, you've got to order food, you got to take care of your staff, your customers, create the food, all that good stuff. So what else would you like to say about like some of the businesses that you work with? Because if you're listening right now and you're like, well, I just don't know if Kyle's if I could use Kyle's services or whatever. What type of businesses do you work with? Because I know it's vast. It really is.
If I was to make a list of, all the businesses that I work with, I would say, it's kind of crazy. I work with everyone from, the school that I went to, you know, to psychiatrists, to dentists, to chiropractors, to
City councils.
city councils, to large businesses that have over 1,000 people, to small businesses with one or two people. So it's just like, there's really no limitation to startups that are just that haven't even technically started yet. That I just am helping out, just starting this week. So it's just like, it's just kind of never ending. And so it's just like,
Beautiful.
yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I got one more question for you before we wrap this up
Yeah.
today. Do you ever have any client who says, this is too successful, we need to pull the reins back a little bit? Because, you and I have talked about a story one time. I did a seminar and I had great success of it. So the first thing I did was never do a seminar again. It doesn't make any sense to have something that works so well and never do it again. Do you ever run into clients like that? And how do you keep them on track?
Actually, that is kind of funny because I like the Facebook ads. I have had a couple clients where I did Facebook ads for them, and a couple clients came to me and they said the Facebook ads are working too well. We're pretty much overbooked, so we can't really use you anymore, pretty much. So, but I was happy for them, but but it is what it is. So yeah.
That's funny. That's
Yeah.
funny. It's kind of weird, but it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be in that situation.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to put a personal plug in for Kyle's business right now. Like I said, I've been working with Kyle for a few months now. And I'm going to tell you, he's a straight shooting guy. He's extremely nice. He's very easy to work with. He's just a good salt of the earth type of person who will walk you through step by step on a very specialized field that I personally don't have a lot of knowledge on. And he makes the whole process very easy. So once again, if you want to reach Kyle, please give him a call at 319-759-7909 and go to his website at rappeneckerdesign.com. Check it out. He's got a beautiful picture of his family on there. He's got proof of his work. It'll give you an idea of some of the other companies that he's worked with. He's not limited to Southeast Iowa. He's very much able to expand all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
And I would definitely put a personal plug in and say, if you want to take your business to the next level, whether you're a startup or an existing business, Kyle is definitely the guy you want to talk to because he makes it very easy, and I appreciate his services so much. So for all of you listening today, my heartfelt thanks goes out to all of you. Always thank you to Kyle for helping me put together this. This is just another example of some of Kyle's services.
This means a lot.
At Great River Investments, we want to hear from you. So please reach out to me by either giving me a call at 319-576-2264 or visit my website at www.greatriverinvestments.com and going to the Contact Us section of the site. I or a member of my team will be in touch with you shortly to discuss our next steps together. Thank you again for listening to the Marvin Knows Finances Show. This is Marvin Thompson, your certified financial planner. Have a great day.